Hi there, and hope everyone has had a beautiful Monday. If it was sunny, rainy, or in between, I hope that the mood was positive today. This live is also following the luxury edition live with Ghalia, and we're going to be meeting with Rawan, who's going to introduce us to her story, how she had developed a beautiful project, and what were the components for developing of this project. Of course, those who will join later on will have the opportunity to view all of these chats on IGTV and on YouTube. And don't hesitate to come to us with your comments and questions if you have any. So, this evening is going to be really special. Of course, I'd always like to meet people from back home, designers who developed in Lebanon and grew in Lebanon, and how they managed to create beautiful projects in the Lebanese environment. However, Rawan, I believe, is in France today, and she has different opportunities and projects, but we're going to be exploring all of this together. I'm going to be inviting Rawan in, and we're going to kick off this live a couple of minutes ahead of time, just to make sure that and everything is working well. Hello!
Hello.
Hi, Rawan.
Hello. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you. So, gladly with technology, I get to meet many people all the time, and I'm very glad I'm
Exactly.
doing this live, and I get to connect
Same.
with you because I was always following your work, and I'd always
Wow.
say, I mean, it's curious to know who's behind the person developing beautiful products. So now is the
Mhm.
time to look at all of that and look at your story. I mean, I have done earlier this morning a quick introduction on brands, organic brand growth, and maybe
Mhm.
entrepreneurial brand development. However, it's you who's
Mhm.
going to tell the story today, and I'm going to leave the floor to you to introduce us to you and to your work.
Wow. Thank you so much for this chat. It's an amazing opportunity, I think, to connect and to share my story with everyone. Even though it's a previous experience, it ended 2 years and a half ago, years ago. Well, it started, I think, since I was a child or I was a kid. I grew up. My dad had his leather goods atelier workshop, and he used to make only belts, made to measure belts. So I grew up in this environment where leather was everywhere. I used to play with leather, so it was a familiar fabric to me.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't something new. So I grew up, I did my studies in interior architecture, so I was a designer and architect. And during my studies, designers we are always like picky, and we want something made to measure that it's similar to us to show our character, blah blah blah. So I decided like, well, I'm not finding my bag in the market. My bag, I want to put my drawings, I want to put my stuff. So I decided to make my own bag and my own pouch and sketchbook. I even have it here. I really love this sketchbook.
Show us. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, I really love it. It's from, yeah,
It
it's
is
binded.
beautiful.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
it's
binded
hand
with leather.
right.
Yeah.
And have you also cut the papers to fit in it, or you got
Yes.
yes?
Yeah, I did everything. So,
Beautiful.
yeah, so I did this, and everyone around me started to ask me, where did you buy these products? I was like, I made them. Like, no, 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 this is impossible. Well, yeah, and it was back in 2011. It was a hobby. So years after, people started to ask me, we are willing to pay to so you can make us a product made to measure. And it
Mm-hmm.
was really funny, like friends asking me to do that. And after my master's in 2015, I decided either I get a job I worked a lot in interior architecture, or I established my own business. And
Right.
luckily, I had my older brother who encouraged me and told me, "Well, I'm here. I will help you, and
Go for
we'll
it.
go for it." And here all started, of course, with the brand name, the brand identity, who are my clients. And I'm a designer, so I'm really not familiar with the business world or the marketing or the brand identity, even as word. Like,
Mm-hmm.
what are you talking to me? I have a design, I want to sell it, but it's not the case. When
Right.
you
We're
want to
going
make
to be talking about this in
yeah,
absolute
in details.
details.
Yeah, exactly. This is the
Right.
biggest part of my journey.
Yes.
And here started in 2015. But it was like a long story for me, and a long journey where it was between discovering myself,
Mm.
self-discovery, and discovering how I want to build this brand, because it was eponymous brand. It was under my name, and
Mm-hmm.
that was it is the difference between brands that are not related to the designer, and the brands who are like Louis Vuitton, most of the brands, the big brands. So yeah, I don't know if you want me to develop more or
I will guide you now through the
yeah.
like the details and all the juicy details. So let's
Okay.
go back to where it all started. I mean, you said
Mm.
that you were acquainted with leather goods. However, you
Mm.
haven't had an initial like training, like design
Mm.
training on how to work with leather. It was an acquired savoir-faire, right? Because
Yeah.
it was passed on from father to daughter. So, working with leather and
Mm.
developing items out of leather, what does it take, first of all?
Mm.
And then producing a final product is something, but then
Mm.
how would the customer in front of us appreciate a leather related product or this type of quality? Let's start by talking about this.
Yeah. Well, indeed, I did learn a lot from my father, but in leather goods craftsmanship, there's a lot of techniques. So I developed a different technique from my father, and I learned it by myself. And later, of course, I did small workshops with like, he's my second dad. His name is Eli Ataye. He works for a lot of big brands around the world. He's Lebanese, and he taught me a lot. It's a never-ending learning process with leather.
Yes.
It really is. So yeah, the leather process, the product development, it is a long process. It takes a lot of effort, physical effort, first as craftsmen, and it takes a lot of knowledge about leather and which leather to use for each product, and
Mm-hmm.
how each leather interacts with our body as well, because we you know, like, our hands, like, whenever we touch the leather, there's some kind of oil we create on the leather, it change. So anyway, it's a lot of technique here. But how I worked with clients, if you know, or how I developed the products, uh, well, basically, it starts from what you need. It's what the client or me, at the beginning, what I need. So I started what I need to put in this bag. And I started to design as an architect, basically, to
Mm-hmm.
put dimensions. I was creating a space for my own items.
Mm-hmm.
That's it in the beginning. So I create the design, then the pattern, because the stitches, they take dimensions, how you want to produce this leather, how you need to fold the leather, you need to force the leather. No, you need one layer of hide. So it is a lot of elements,
Technical elements that should
technical
be
elements.
considered, right?
Of course, like, you need a lot of technical elements that uh, quite not limit us, but frame a little bit our design.
Right.
And here is sometimes with the client, we need to explain a lot to the client so he can understand.
Yes, yes.
And this is the exciting part, basically. Now we're talking about the first part, designing the product with the client. And the client being involved in the design is really exciting for him.
Mm.
This is the selling point, basically.
Because to make things clear, of course, Rawan, in
Mm,
your case, you were not proposing like readily made leather collections. At first, you started developing your own, and then you
mm,
saw what people are looking for, and you would custom made the products for them. So this is the
mm,
point when you have to really get the client in touch with what you do and how you do it. And then
mm,
I think this is also the point when the customer will be
mm,
seeing that, yes, there's a lot of effort, and maybe he would not be negotiating on prices related
mm.
to the value. Let's talk about like these two concepts
Points.
here.
Yeah, exactly. Well, honestly, it's not easy to sell a product that where the client cannot visualize or touch at all.
Mm.
I made only made to measure products from A to Z. Most of the clients didn't see any product before before ordering. Sometimes yes, of course, because it was mostly word of mouth from one person to another, which is a very powerful tool.
Mhm.
Um, uh, so yeah, it wasn't easy to convince or to have the trust of the client to design something that he didn't see. And
Yes.
here I need to explain everything to the client, and it's very exciting. Most of the clients needed to know my story,
Mm.
how I started, how I'm here now, why I'm doing this, and the story is always the hook with the client. And when we used to sit together to draw to check which leather, which color, uh, how this leather reacts with this product. It's very interesting. And your for your second part, can you repeat, please?
I will go through
I was
that.
a little
You
bit
have
in
lots
my
of
zone.
ideas.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
know.
exactly.
I mean that I was highlighting the important fact that you take a lot of time into explaining to your customers in order
Yeah,
to present or provide with the best customized outcome. And on the other hand, your customer who has to put a lot of trust in you, or who has to confine his uh, project with you, will be able to say at the end of the day, okay, everything I
yeah,
have ordered is there, and it's worth the price that Rawan asked for, right?
yeah, exactly. The price part is really important. It's really important. A lot of clients, if they have a small knowledge about leather goods, they appreciate from the beginning everything. They know the value they are putting in the product. But many people, they couldn't in the beginning really like understand why this product takes a lot of time to be produced, even though I explain everything, because it was hand stitched. It was all made by hand from A to Z, which I didn't really specify in the beginning. It was all hand stitched. So imagine each stitch is by hand.
Mm,
It takes hours
yes.
and a lot of effort. But most of the clients, I was really lucky that they were really surprised and happy with the result. And most of them, they told me like, we would pay more, even more. That is very rewarding for both, but having a trust between both is not easy. And here is a very important factor that I want to mention, is to let the client, in a way, being involved in every step.
Step. Right.
Not only the design
Mm-hmm.
and the production process. Some clients wanted to have pictures to see. They were curious because whenever you go to a boutique, okay, you buy a bag, you buy a wallet, but you never see what is happening behind the
Right.
backstage.
Yeah. Yes.
And this is very fascinating for everyone, I think, even for
Of
me.
course.
So
And now I'm imagining it, and I mean, I want to
yeah,
be there.
yeah,
It's really nice. So, I mean,
yeah.
it's really important to highlight this because, as you said, we're working on a different dimension different brand dimension. We're working on a smaller scale, on a one-on-one contact with the client, and we're working with different types of qualities, and we're processing a product before just making it available. I just want to go up. Someone asked if there is a difficult leather to use for design. What is the most difficult leather to use for design? I hope voila.
Yeah,
I mean,
I saw it.
did you use different types of leathers? Like now that the question is raised, did you favor one quality over the other, or was it leather in general?
In the beginning, I was really open to any kind of leather because I was also discovering more and
Experimenting
more.
with that,
Yeah,
right?
exactly, exactly. Even though I grew up, but I didn't really work a lot on my hands and produced to people. So it's quite there's a lot of responsibility behind.
Yes.
With time, I really preferred to work with cow hides than other exotic leathers, leather hides, because we consume the cow, we consume the meat. I was trying to be more into a more sustainable, let's say, approach. Even I preferred vegetable tanned hides. They use natural products to tan, to give a color, let's say, to make it simple, to the hide, because there is a lot of other processes like they
That could
use
be more
chrome.
chemical. Yeah.
It's really chemical, but we cannot live without. Like some colors, we need to use these colors, so we cannot have other options. Replying to the question, but going back to the question, each leather is quite different, and it's quite difficult as well if we use it to the wrong product. We need to know which leather to use to each product category, or the use of the product. For example, the cow is we use it for many. It's the most used leather type. For example, the sheep. We use different words, but I'm gonna say sheep now. It's very soft. We use it for clothing, so it depends. For my kind of product, I did quite a big range of product categories. I used cow. So
yeah, and was the supply difficult? I mean, were you able to get the material, the raw material that you wanted from Lebanon? Was the market facilitating access to raw material for you to be able to produce?
That's a very important question. Well, basically, that was my main problem, and it was the main factor for me to stop my brand. Building a brand is not only about creating a design. It's not at all. It's all about operational risks, managing and outsourcing materials and tools. So it wasn't that easy, honestly, in Lebanon. Before, if we go back 10 years ago, it was way easier. We had a very good, let's say, variety that we can find at the suppliers. Few years back, when I started to really produce and sell in 2015-16, it started to be more limited. So I had to sometimes outsource from outside Lebanon, pay a lot of taxes, and
which doesn't justify, I mean, the final retail price, or would be operating at loss.
Exactly. Yeah,
Right.
exactly. And even most of my tools and materials, they were out of Lebanon, from France, Italy. So yeah, it is quite sad to be limited by the market we are Yeah.
Yeah. So we're going, of course, to be elaborating that further
Yeah,
because
of course.
it's a
Yeah.
really important factor. And as you said, the brand is very holistic, and
Mm,
the stakeholders or our suppliers are as
mm,
important as our operations. So
mhm,
now, eventually, you grew in experience and
mhm,
you grew in customer base. And what you said that you started feeling the need that you should develop a form of a brand, meaning having
mm.
a certain visual identity, name, etc., to communicate yourself better and maybe to sign your product, right? Let's talk a little
Exactly.
bit about that. Even
Yeah.
if you said earlier that you started without any knowledge about the conception of a brand, like in a formal way, why did you feel at a certain point the need to have a visual identity?
Uh, as you said, the first idea I got in mind is like to sign my product. Whenever someone see the product, to know that this is I made this product. Sometimes we know like this is Rawan or this is X or Y because of the design of the details and the design, of course. But most in the beginning it was just to sign the product, and later creating a visual identity. It was important, I think, more to people, to clients than for me.
Right.
People need to see the difference between brands. They need to recognize the name and the logo.
Right.
We need to assign a story with a name, with a logo, with a person.
Mm.
This is very important to people, to clients, to consumers, so they can remember this product and hence sell it, buy it. Sorry. Eventually, we need to people to buy the product. Uh, how I chose my brand identity or my basically my logo or name, it wasn't easy. I started with names. Then I said no. The products really I do the
Reflect
products my
you.
it
Yeah.
reflects me, blah blah
Mm.
blah. And then I said like, okay, my name is sometimes a little bit long, sometimes a little bit exotic. I'm gonna use it. This is me. I'm not gonna change. So, and I think that was a really great idea.
Mm. Mm.
um, Later, I wanted like, okay, I have the name, but I want to create the visual logo of my name. And since I was born and I lived all my life in Byblos, Lebanon, it's the hub of the Phoenicians, if we can say. So we created the Phoenician alphabet.
Right.
So it was a discussion with my brother, and we said like, okay, I'm gonna use my initials RS in Phoenician alphabets,
Right.
and it's really also it was a great idea. It gave this exotic identity, and it was really different from what we saw in the market.
Mm. Mm. Mm.
And everyone loved the logo. So in the beginning, I had two initials. I had the R and S, and after 2 years, I have a friend, Maher Bayoumi. I hope he's here. He's a brander. He's one of the best branders I've ever seen.
Hi,
Uh,
brother, and hi, Maher.
exactly. And we were talking. I told him, look, I want to uplift my logo. I need to do something about it. And it was really simple. We just removed one letter
Mm.
and we made the colors so simple. Yellow, my favorite color, and brown, the color that I used mostly in the
The leather
stitches.
goods.
And
Yes.
yeah, exactly. It was a really nice combination, very pure, very simple, and it really uplifted the brand, the whole brand. Only the logo changed
Mm.
everything.
Mm. Mm. Mm.
The how clients saw and how consumers saw the brand was their vision towards the brand changed a
Mm.
little bit. It gave it more high end because the logo is very essential
Yes.
to project like your work.
And now your
Yeah.
discourse has changed, and you felt that a couple of years later from starting this beautiful project, even you have matured and you have seen that customers need certain things around them to make them feel more comfortable to relate to the brand. And yet you highlighted important things related to your project as well, that are story, quality, product, finishing. I mean, all of these put together would say that the finished product is a story told, and you're delivering it to your customer, right? And now we're delivering it even better because the consumer, after having relifted or uplifted the brand's identity, perceive more value into your product. So I believe at this time, if I'm not mistaken, you would have maybe invested more in visual communications, or maybe you would have invested more in communicating on different platforms. Tell me about that.
Well, yeah, exactly. We have to. We don't have the choice. I started in a very, like you say, it was a little bit like shy in the beginning, my digital communication. Also because I couldn't like I was doing everything. I was producing the leather products myself. I was meeting with the clients.
The typical one-man show entrepreneur, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it takes a lot of energy and time. So I wanted to put more into the digital to get more clients, to have more exposure for my brand and products eventually. And here, yeah, you can see even on my Instagram, you can see how the brand identity changed and evolved.
Yes.
Yeah, how really it developed through time, and it's really interesting even for me now, from like
looking back
looking back,
right?
exactly. I needed to share more how I'm working with leather, how I'm producing the backstage and the product, the final product, more into details, how we can use this product. People need to see details in this type of product. So I learned like, yeah, I need to show details. And thanks to my younger brother, my second brother, he's a photographer, so he used to take amazing pictures.
Hello to the younger brother.
Yeah, exactly. Again, it's like basically the family who was supporting me.
That's great.
So yeah, of course, but I'm how we can say now, looking back, I feel like I could put more into the digital, but at the same time I didn't have the energy all the time.
Right.
At a certain point I wanted to scale. I wanted to even like
grow further your
yeah, and to delegate some of my activities. And here came the problematic with Lebanon and the outsourcing materials. To scale, we need a good operational chain, and it was quite complicated, let's say, not
right.
complex. Yeah.
I mean, it's really sad having developed this, having grown, and just at the time when you started establishing yourself and getting, we don't want to use like the term getting your name established on the market because you're very niche. You would have gained your reputation through the trust of people and them referring you, or through brand advocates. And then this issue of complexity of the distribution channel, it's a handicap to your product, because at the end of the day, if we're going to put it that way, you're working with leather, and now leather is not possible to get. What can the brand do? Have you thought at a certain point, Rawan, that you would use this savoir-faire, like pattern making, a bag, a handbag, or a pouch, and maybe using other types of material or alternative material to produce, and telling people why you have chosen this? Difficult question.
No, it came up to my mind like when I had this problem. No, of course I thought about it a lot, and unfortunately, most of the people, they cannot see the value of a product if it's not in leather.
In leather, yeah.
Even if I use, I don't know, silk or any good material, they won't see the value if it's not leather.
Even though you have explained or made them see that you have been working on the ultimate level of detail in finishing the product, right? But still, we're saying that customers feel more comfortable in paying for a leather item than a well-finished item.
Yeah.
Yes?
Exactly. Yeah.
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 Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, very interesting. Even my technique and the details I used to do, sometimes they are really perfect, but on
Yeah.
my own way.
Yeah.
I used to like raw edges. I didn't put any paint on the edge of the leather, and people used to like it because it's like this. It's leather.
Yeah.
I can see the leather, even if sometimes not even there is a small mistake or whatever. They used to like this imperfection.
Yeah.
Even though I didn't like it, I want something perfect. It's normal, but people like imperfection because it's leather. It's just having a leather bag is a luxury, just to be seen between other people. So I thought about other materials, and even I started a project. I wanted to start a project, something sustainable, more collecting the waste of some materials and do something creative under another name, basically. But it wasn't really easy with everything that is happening. If I cannot secure a good operational chain, I cannot sell. I cannot put any brand for people, like provide anything for people.
Right.
So
Right.
it's yeah. We need to think about this before creating anything.
Starting.
Yeah.
Yes, I mean how we made the product available is one issue and selling it is another issue. But during the time when you were still operational, the fact that you were doing more made to measure, did it refrain you for thinking of opening up a physical store or a boutique, or maybe presenting your collection in a maybe multi-brand store? Or you thought that for the sake of integrity of your products and your brand, you would rather do it from your atelier, for example?
Well, in the beginning, I was more like attached to, no, I want something only made to measure. I want to size by myself, direct to the client. But later, to have a more sustainable business model, I thought, no, it's not gonna be that way. It's not gonna work. So I had a lot of opportunities to be in concept stores and exhibitions for other also craftsmen, and I did 2 small experiences and that because I was producing myself, so I need a lot of time to produce a collection to be ready to be sold,
presented, right?
Exactly, to be presented. So that is it was also a limiting factor. But I did in Biblos, I had 2 exhibitions. They were really a success. They were really nice, and I had a lot of people coming that I don't even know to buy, and they referred me to other people. They recommended me to other people. But yeah, being the one-man show is not easy to scale up a brand. That is why I was starting to think to delegate these activities to someone, and I'm only the designer and the contact with the client. But it wasn't also easy to find someone who I can teach this technique, because it's not really
common.
No, it's not really common, and it's really expensive as well.
Right.
So and here was the point where I was either I scale up my brand, or I wanted to change country and change my life a little bit. That's why now I'm in Paris, as you introduced me in the beginning. Yeah.
Okay, we're going to
this point later.
To this point.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, it's that. Let's see. I think I have a question. Which niche market seems to be the most interesting to invest in at these moments? And is the leather client still behaving the same way they used to last year? Thank you for this beautiful question. I was going to attend to this topic. I mean,
Yeah.
how can we answer that?
Uh, well, yeah, like leather goods are not really. Not all markets really appreciate leather goods. Most of them they do. We cannot
Mm-hmm.
say no. Middle East, of course, like when we go to the Gulf area, it's like a for them it's a fetish to buy luxury brands more than someone they don't know. Here in France, since I'm here now, and I knew they like niche, they like small brands. They love, of course, brands like known brands, Hermès, Louis Vuitton, Chanel, but they really appreciate the one-man show who's working by himself.
There is still an appreciation you feel for talent here, and
Yeah,
there's always a room you feel for telling your story through your products, right?
yeah, exactly. They love the story. Especially French people, they love the story always behind. And other markets, I'm not really acquainted with them. Uh, Mostly, I do believe Europe are more into small brands, supporting micro businesses. And for now, I don't think the vision or the our perspective to leather goods products have changed,
Mm.
especially with this wave of sustainability, waste, killing animals, eating like all this this new problematic has changed a lot. Affected a lot of people, and they stopped. I have a lot of friends who are only buying vegan products,
Right.
even
And
though leather is.
someone actually pointed out earlier at the beginning, Joseph.
Okay.
Hi, Joseph. And as you were saying, I mean, attending
Okay.
to that idea that today in Europe there are lots of alternatives for leather, especially those who are working with fish skin.
Yeah.
And in France, I think it's a hype. It's picking up. I don't know if it's now a fad or it's going to be a trend later on. However, do you think that maybe as well, if I can ask and top up the question, do you think that people are still willing to pay for leather items the same price that they used to before?
Oh yes.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, yeah.
Yes.
Even though it's been a few years, I'm not really involved in this sector, but I do believe yes, because now I'm working in luxury. So luxury, if we can say luxury,
There is
people will
leather.
there is leather,
Yes.
and people will pay thousand, and they don't care.
Yes. Yes.
These kind of clients, they never change. Like if you can like fast fashion change a lot. The clients for fast fashion and not even premium brands like other brands, there's a lot of change there. But the luxury and premium or high-end products, their clients never, they even pay more. We
Right.
can look at Hermes, they never, their
Stopped
benefits,
producing.
yeah,
Yeah.
no, never, never. So we can take Hermes always as an example for leather
Right.
goods.
Yes.
Yeah.
And for their pre-orders and the prices they charge for that, yes, it gives
Yes.
us a good example of what's
Yeah,
happening.
exactly,
So
exactly.
today there are alternatives to leather, but leather is still there. We're seeing
Mhm.
that there are changes, maybe in consumer behavior or preferences,
Mhm.
or maybe consumers might be willing to explore different types of products and different types of finishing, etc.
Mhm.
And I would like to attend again to the difference between the Middle Eastern, the Lebanese market in specific, and the
Mhm.
French market. You highlighted the importance of the value of working as a solo designer or a small brand and people appreciating you. Whereas sometimes in Lebanon, you might feel that there's an extra effort for someone who's working on a micro level to exist and to sustain alone, right? I think, do you believe at a certain point in Lebanon we have been wowed by international brands and they have become the standards to the extent that we forgot everything else?
Yeah, it is true. Like it's a very good point. In a certain period, I felt like, yeah, it was like only brands, logos, brands, famous brands around the world. But there's this small period as well where it was, and like mostly Hamra, Badar, Ashrafi, we had these small,
Nodes, like small
yeah,
clusters. Yeah,
exactly,
yeah,
for small brands or micro businesses, and people started to see like, yeah, I want to support my local neighbor and this guy I know, or I don't know, my local people. But it was quite a struggle between this period and the other one, like to have a presence to say like, yes, this brand gives you, like, provide you with a certain quality, but I can also provide you with the same quality as well,
right,
in a different price.
right.
I'm lucky I was in between these two periods, I feel, and it takes time, but whenever you have the trust or loyal customers, loyal clients, it's done. Like you don't need to do much effort. I had always clients to come back, and this is you don't need more. Like that's
Yeah,
it.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah.
That's
So
perfect. I mean,
yeah.
I think we have covered like major aspects of how things started, how you developed the quality, the types of products, collection, the signature, etc. And we
Mhm.
have raised the point of customer understanding and the value of your offering towards
Mhm.
customers.
Mhm.
Today, and having this look, I think this global look over what you have had experienced and where you are now. What are your future projects? Are you willing to look at maybe projects related to managing smaller brands or just working in brand management for other brands?
Uh, it's a very good question. It was mostly what made me like change my course, my project, my career project. That I really prefer to be like to build other brands and to be with other brands than creating something for myself. Especially at the moment, like I do believe I had a great experience. Of course, I can never regret it. I learned a lot,
Mm-hmm.
but creating more brands, we don't need more brands. We need more solutions. Um, so I prefer to put in action my experience in other brands than thinking of a new project for the time
For
being.
the time
Let's say,
being, right.
yeah, let's say for the
And
time being,
just
yeah,
curious to say, because now you
yeah.
have described it beautifully, have you
Thank you.
grown? Have you grown on a professional level, or this experience of working on your own has made you a more mature person, a more mature manager? And now do you have the ability to assess a brand, a brand's position, and to provide these solutions for him?
It's a great question. Yes, I cannot say yes in general, but it made me, of course, a more mature person. I had a full responsibility. Whenever you are working in a company, the major responsibility comes on the CEO or on your
Yeah,
manager,
yeah.
and you are just a number, unfortunately. But I had all the responsibility. I was meeting with the clients directly, and this experience I'm really appreciated. I really appreciate this experience because I understand clients better now.
Mm, mm.
Um, and going back to the second part, because on the first part I can talk a lot. But going back to the second part, yes, of course, I always have some critique on brands, how they communicate, how they mostly their communication with the client. It's really critical. If you never work directly with a client, it's hard to understand how to communicate with a client.
Right. And it's a great point that you're raising here. I mean,
yeah.
and going down to the level of the client, when most of the times, and when you're raising it, I'm looking back at many experiences I had even with my students back then, like being in isolation, or not getting down to the floor level or to the customer level might be a great handicap in your brand. And now that you have raised this question, it's really important to have said it. And I think you had started your training with a very difficult client as well, right?
Yes, of course, exactly. with the most difficult clients.
Right.
Like I'm gonna say picky clients, since I can say I was picky as well.
Yes.
But clients who want everything different. They want a product for themselves, made to measure, the color, which color for the stitching. So we're talking like with a very different level of clients, and yeah, it was a very good training.
Yes.
You need to really listen, understand what he's requesting and he's saying, like really read between the lines, because most of the clients, they don't really know what they want.
Yes.
And we need to frame them, to direct them during the discussion, to really understand sometimes, okay, he's saying this, but he means that.
Yes. Because I think we don't have the same terminologies between our brand and what our clients might understand. But I'm curious to know, have you ever said no to a client?
Oh, I don't think so. No, like one time I had a friend, she had a really weird request. I told her no, but it was a friend who was just, I think, testing me. Yeah, that just like to make to laugh a bit, but no, I don't think I said no for a client, because I really like to experiment, to do more and more. I'm a curious person by nature, so I didn't want to limit myself. And I think but this strategy helped me a lot to know what I wanted to do later on.
Yes.
If we don't tackle many subjects or many products or many techniques or what, exactly. Whatever it is, you cannot know what you want or what you need. And that is why I think my brand identity grew with time. And that is why with time, clients started to tell me, we want you to do the design. We're not gonna question.
Yes.
Yeah, we want this and that. And when I started to go into details, like, no, this is your style, this is your design, because I discovered, I tried, I experimented before, and that is very good experience. I think that was good,
and moreover, a good decision. And moreover, we would like to wow as well your humble, if I may use the term, your humble approach toward designing, etc. Because being always present and listening to what customers want would mean at a certain point we have to let go of our ego and the way we like to do things to attend to our customers' desires. And I believe most of the designers might not be able to understand this at first or let go, right?
Yeah, thank you for that. Yes. Well, I was thinking of this point yesterday, just like, refreshing my mind about this subject. It is a very important subject to raise. Me as a designer in the beginning, I was like so rigid, like I didn't want to change. This is my design. I want to sell my design as it is. People either
take
they
it
like
or
it or
leave
not.
it. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And basically, it doesn't work like this. This is not business. This is not the market. These are not customers. Don't want this.
Yeah, yeah,
You are here to provide something, to provide something that answers to a need, and that's it.
mm,
If you are not willing to move aside your ego and your creativity in a way, and the artist inside, you cannot sell.
yeah,
So yeah,
yeah.
it wasn't easy. I really struggled with that. I say it. I really struggled, and later I understood like no, whenever I want to do business, I need to listen and see the clients, and I think that is the point where I started really to evolve and develop my brand.
Right.
Yeah.
And finally, by just by listening to that, we might come to the conclusion
Mm.
how customers are important in the brand formula and how customers could help us
Mm.
grow. Because most of startup brands might be afraid of customers at first and wouldn't know how to manage them, right?
Yeah.
Rawan, of I mean, this conversation would go like forever and ever.
Yeah.
It's really beautiful how how you've
Thank
put
you.
things and how you drew your story and how you told your story. Hi everyone, thank you. I
Yeah.
have been seeing lots of highs and hellos, so
Yeah.
we're sending lots of love from France back to you.
Yeah, thank
I don't know if
you.
there are any other questions, and I hope we've answered all of the questions and comments that have been
Yeah.
earlier asked. Rawan, what is
Looking back.
your other thoughts? What is the most important thing that I didn't
Mm.
ask you and that you want to
Oh.
tell us about before we conclude?
Um, well, being the one-man show in a way, through creating a brand, I think it really helped me to understand all the levels and all the activities that might be involved in a brand. And I think helped me to appreciate more appreciate more startuppers, appreciate more the work behind every activity, and having a really holistic vision. It was quite how you say a turning point for me and for my career, and it changed me. So and I'm happy today to sharing this. I was happy to share this experience, even though it was small, on a very small scale, in a very small city in Lebanon. So yeah, I cannot say there is a lot of questions or like things to say or to ask and to discuss, but I think we take hours after. Yeah,
We definitely would
yeah.
attend. I mean, I'm checking a little bit because Instagram would shut us at
Ah, no,
59
no,
minutes.
yeah.
Uh,
Yeah, I don't
um,
want that.
we, of course, at a certain point, we believe that smaller brands are lesser in value because through these
Mm,
consumption cultures, we understood, or maybe we have lived for the past decades with all of these brands, whether franchise brands, whether national brands, whether chains, dictating us a way of doing
mm,
things. And
mhm,
in most countries, there was a difficulty to develop a business on your own and sustain from your business because you either had a difficult way to supply and to
mhm,
make your business survive, or on the other hand, you didn't have enough demand for your product, and hence keeping it as a hobby. At a certain point, we feel that we have this story repeated with many Lebanese designers. However, it's
exactly.
sad to learn that when the brand came to develop and pick up, you
Mhm,
felt that you couldn't do anything else. And this is a very important thing when we attend to developing brand and developing brand elements, because we know that even if we do things perfectly, we cannot control the external environment. And you couldn't
mhm,
control the external environment. it's a sad thing, but this is the reality of brands, right?
Exactly.
So, did we talk
Yeah.
about a future project in France other than like, is there anything that you would like to share with us, or we have talked about everything?
Uh, Yeah, future project, personal project, I don't think for the moment, any entrepreneurial project, not for the moment. Especially with this crisis we're having everywhere, it's a global crisis.
Right.
We really now need to understand and learn more about the new behavior of the client. It's
Mm-hmm,
really
mm-hmm,
changing
mm-hmm.
from us and other people before thinking about new projects. Even though I really like to be involved in projects, I'm sometimes I'm a workaholic, or I'm really motivated all the time to work. But yeah, I think we covered the good part of what I have done, and now let's see the future, where it takes,
Hopefully
where it
we
takes me.
meet again when
Yeah.
you would have started something new or took part of something new, and maybe we
Yes.
could also take time to discuss that. Thank you so much,
Sure.
Rawan,
Thank
for this
you.
beautiful interview, for this beautiful story, and thank you everyone for joining us. For those who
Yeah.
joined a little bit later, we would be directly uploading this session on IGTV and later on YouTube. And Rawan and I are going to be sharing all of this on our stories. Thank you so much,
Yeah.
Rawan, and good luck.
Oh, thanks for you for this lovely chat, let's say. And yeah, it was really lovely. And thank you everyone for attending. Like most of the people I know, they love you so much. I saw many hearts and stuff. And wish you a great night now, I think, in Paris.
You
And
too. Thank you,
later.
everyone. And thank you for joining. Good evening. Bye.
Bye bye.